Today, you are going to get a front row seat to the short but impactful Springbok career of Ricardo Loubscher. He's been on this show before. Ricardo, welcome back to Front Row Rugby.
Thanks, Peter. I'm looking forward to the show. Thanks for having me.
Now, before we begin our conversation, let's take a look at today's trivia question. In 1998, the Springboks annihilated Wales 96-13. Who scored 31 points for the Boks that day? Now, if you know the answer to the question, you can put it in the comment section down below, and we'll also find out if Ricardo knows the answer, but we'll do that at the end of our conversation. Ricardo, as it turns out, we'll talk about Wales in our very first question here, because it was against them that you made your Springbok debut in 2002 in Bloemfontein. Talk to us about how you were feeling on that occasion.
Yeah, I think if I look back now, you mixed emotions. You also think about the opportunity to represent your country. There's a bit of nerves, but also excitement to look forward to just to get your first cap. And yeah, unfortunately for me, the build-up to my debut, I was sick. I had bronchitis, and yeah, and then you think about your age and you think about the opportunity. And yeah, I think the good thing for me was that I was excited about just getting out there, give my best to my teammates, to the team. Yeah, and I think on the day, tough game against Wales. Unfortunately for me, I got injured in my debut. Now you get that injury in the first half, and you think about you work so hard for that opportunity, so you just want to hang in there. And yeah, just after halftime, yeah, I had another tackle, just what they call a hip pointer. So it was really tough and difficult for me to kick. And but if I look back now, I see myself as one of the lucky ones to get the opportunity to represent your country. And yeah, and I think the 80 minutes just flew by, just like that. But great memories. If I look back now, yeah, as I said, just very fortunate to get the opportunity.
You mentioned your age there. You were 28, or it was just before your 28th birthday that match took place. Did you feel that maybe you could have had a test cap a little bit earlier?
Yeah, and I think that if I go back now, 1999 was one of my goals to make the World Cup squad. But unfortunately, the standard or just the quality of rugby that I've played wasn't good enough at that time. But I was so desperate to make that World Cup squad, and then you got to reset, think about what is next for you. So the next goal was obviously to make the 2003 World Cup squad, and lucky for me, I showed some good form in the Currie Cup and Super Rugby, and yeah, that was Rudolf Straeuli was the coach. So yeah, excited to make that squad. But I think coming back to your question, yes, definitely, I would have loved to play a little bit more. But yeah, if I look back now, just very fortunate to get the opportunity.
Hey, if you're enjoying this video, why not consider becoming a patron? It's my dream, guys, to do this full time, and with a small financial contribution, you can help me realize that dream. The link and the QR code is appearing on your screen right now, and I'll also put it down in the description area for you to go and click on at a later stage if you would like to do so. And by becoming a patron, I promise there will be great benefits for members. Now let's get back to the interview. Your debut was on the 8th of June 2002. Your second test match was on the 7th of June 2003, almost exactly a year apart. And you mentioned the injury there that you picked up on your debut. What else happened in between?
Yeah, I think if I think back now about my debut, fractured ribs, couldn't finish the game, and you're playing with bronchitis. I only found out on the Monday when I went for x-rays, I found out that I played with bronchitis. And then, you know, you got to reset and you got to just keep working hard again. And I think playing my next test, I think was Scotland, just to get up the opportunity there again, was very emotional for me. And because you work so hard, and just to finally stand there to sing the anthem with your teammates, representing your country, I think that was probably one of the memories for me that I will forever take with me in my career going forward. Yeah, but as I said, very emotional to play against Scotland. Obviously, you want to play week in and week out. But 28, and you think about your age, you're probably the wrong side of 25, if I can put it that way. But I think the test match against Scotland was really tough, and I think we lost that game, the test match against them. Very, very tough game on the day for us.
I think it's fair to say, Ricardo, that when you made your debut in 2002, that at that stage, when Rudolf Straeuli had just become the new Springbok coach, there was a lot of excitement certainly among the fans with the Springboks and what the future held. But maybe a year later, especially after that difficult tour at the end of 2002, maybe the fans were not feeling as enthusiastic. How would you describe the atmosphere in the Springbok camp at that stage?
Yeah, look, if I think back now, we really worked hard, especially that month just before the World Cup, 2003 World Cup. Fitness was a big focus for Rudolf Straeuli, so we worked hard, get our fitness right, our game model, as we call it nowadays, just in terms of our game plan, how we want to play the game. So I think players were really motivated to do well in that World Cup. We worked hard. We even had the famous Kamp Staaldraad, so I was part of that. And I think the whole idea of that was just to get unity, get alignment, just to unite us as a team. No, I think the atmosphere in the team was really good. Players worked for each other, put their bodies on the line for each other. So unfortunately for us, we didn't do that well in the World Cup. And but I think I can only look back and think hard-working team, working for each other, and playing as a team.
We'll get to the World Cup and Kamp Staaldraad in a moment. But the first thing that I want to touch on is, at that stage, you had played your first test match, then you were injured, and then you waited another year before your second test match, and then you waited until the World Cup for your third test match. How frustrating was that for you?
Yeah, if I look back now, obviously, if you get that call or just your coach calling you for one-on-one, you know that's either you're not going to be selected or you're going to be part of the 22 way back. And nowadays is it 23, the squad of 23. And then, getting good news from Rudolf Straeuli that I'm going to make my debut against Wales. And, just the excitement. And I think just the game was played in Bloem, not far from Colesberg, where I grew up. So it was really special for my parents to be there, to come and watch me live, probably for the first time. Excitement and at the same time nervous, because you think about ideally, as a player, you want to start off the bench and just work your way sort of into the starting team or starting lineup. But I was fortunate to start against Wales, and then 20 minutes into that game, fractured my ribs, had a hip pointer injury. Halftime, spoke to Doc, and 10 minutes into the second half, I couldn't make it anymore. So, and I came off. Lucky for us, we pulled it off against Wales, a great win for us. And then, the frustration just to find out post-match or post-game, I played with bronchitis, and I was out for a few weeks, and sort of, what do you do after that? Now you have to reset and work your way back into the squad again. So it took me quite a while to get back into the squad again. And obviously you have to prove yourself, whether it's Currie Cup or playing Super Rugby, you have to prove that you're good enough to play for the Springboks again. So looking back now, massive frustration for me. Just to make the team against Scotland again in Durban was very special for me, very emotional. And I think it's down to all the frustrations with injuries. And obviously you have to wait that long to make the team again. So, but I see it more as a character builder for me, just getting mentally tougher, put your head down, work hard, and eventually to make the World Cup squad again. That was really special for me.
So, Ricardo, before that World Cup, the players had to go on this boot camp. Now we all know about it, Kamp Staaldraad. And I've had so many former Springboks on the show who were part of that experience. And they've told me all kinds of stories about what they went through. What's your story?
Yeah, I must say, there was I had no clue what's going to happen post the announcement of the World Cup squad, and yeah, but what a surprise for all of us. But looking back now, I think it's easy for me now to say I enjoyed it. But I took a lot away from that, whether it's just being mentally tougher, the character, or getting tougher, so to speak. But yeah, 3 days or 4 days of just really grinding, hard work, getting, yeah, it was really tough. It was really tough, I must say. But I think looking back now, I enjoyed it. I took a lot of positives away from that experience.
It's actually quite interesting because I had the vet Barry on this show, and he also said that he quite enjoyed it. He mentioned that there was an evening where you guys were in the bush all by yourselves, and he said he just looked up at the stars and just thought a few thoughts to himself, and he had no problem with that sort of thing. But then, of course, other players, they really didn't enjoy it at all. So it just goes to show how different people experience different things in different manners. Now, having said all of that, off we go to the World Cup, and I think it's fair to say that 2003, looking back, is probably the only time that the Springboks have left South Africa to go to a World Cup, and we probably genuinely deep down in our hearts knew that we were probably not really one of the contenders for the title. What would you say the belief was like within the Springbok camp?
I think within the camp, we had we just backed ourselves because we worked so hard for this opportunity. Looking back now, that month before the World Cup, that's probably one of the toughest, let's call it pre-seasons for now. The last time I had a similar pre-season one was when I played under Neely Smith. That was at EP, Eastern Province, way back. But we really worked hard, and I think there was belief. And maybe just on the day, the All Blacks, we lost against them in the quarterfinal. Maybe on the day, they were just a better team. Too quick, too fast, too skillful for us. But I think within the camp, there was always the belief that we can do it. But sometimes you gotta take it on the chin and yeah, give credit where credit is due.
Our opening match was against Uruguay, a nice big win, and you got to feature in that match as well. Now, I'd be very interested to hear from you. When you win big like that, is it something that boosts the confidence? Or is it a case of you're still maybe a little unsure because at the end of the day, with all due respect, we were expected to win against what at that stage was certainly a much weaker opponent?
From my experience as a coach, just being involved with the World Cup in 2015, is that so when you play those smaller teams or smaller countries, I think the plan is always to rotate. And yeah, I was fortunate to get my opportunity, and as you said, the expectation is to win, and not just to win, but also to win by a big margin, because you want to take confidence away from those games. You want to look at certain combinations. You want to gel certain combinations, and you want to try certain things from a game plan point of view. Yeah, but I think the expectation was yeah, to walk away with confidence from that match.
And then we played England in our next match. How disappointed were you to miss out on that one?
You always look when it comes down to selection. I think there's always disappointment, but then you got to think about how can you serve the team, whether it's through video analysis, whether it's on the training pitch. You got to think about, okay, I'm not involved in this game. Now you got to think about what's the most important thing. Is always team first. So how can I serve the team? In training, bring the best version of yourself and train hard, try and improve the team who's playing on a weekend and try and make them better, try and challenge them in a certain way. And yeah, I think there's always disappointment. But now you got to think about, okay, what is next for me? What is the next opportunity, next goal? And it was obviously to make the next, or try and get to the next squad of 22 that time.
As we mentioned, going to that World Cup, maybe the expectations were not particularly high of the Springboks. But having said that, if we beat England in that pool match, we would have avoided the All Blacks, or almost certainly we would have avoided them in the quarterfinal. So losing to England and then realizing, okay, we're going to probably have to play New Zealand in the quarters. What kind of effect did that have on the boys, do you think?
when you go to the World Cup, you know you're going to have pool games. You have to qualify to get to the playoffs. Then once you're done with the pool games, you know you have to play three finals, with quarters, semis, and finals. And I don't think there's a preference who you want to play. So for all of us, the main focus was just to make sure we prepare well, whether it's England, whether it's the All Blacks or whoever. I think the only thing you can control is your preparation. And as I said, on the day, All Blacks were just too good for us. They really played well. They put us under pressure. They played with high tempo or with speed. Just the intensity was unbelievable on the day.
Before that, we played against Georgia and you were in the starting lineup. How special was it to be in the starting 15 for your country in a Rugby World Cup match?
When you get that call, or as I said, just that one-on-one with the coach, you think about finally you get this opportunity. So you're looking forward to just to go out and express yourself, do the jersey proud, represent your country in only the way you can do it. I think looking back now, Georgia, what opportunity to go out there to play. I think on a day, I can't remember the score, but we put up a really good performance.
And as it turns out, that match was also significant because John Smit actually captained the Springboks for the first time on that occasion. And I remember Skalkberger made his debut in that fixture. How do you remember it?
I was fortunate to play with Smitty at the Sharks, so I knew him quite well. And Skalk was just freakish, tough to play against. And even when we played against the Stormers, you know you're going to be in for a rough day against him. But I must say that John Smit, a brilliant leader, just his captaincy on the day, made it easy for us. And with him, you know, he's going to lead by example. So it was really easy for us to follow him.
As you mentioned earlier, dealing with disappointments is part of being a professional sportsman, but you didn't get to feature against Samoa or that quarterfinal against the All Blacks. How did you deal with that?
First word that comes to mind is frustration, because I think every player, especially when you're part of that squad, you back yourself, you believe in yourself, you think you're good enough to play against any team. But then, as I said, it's all about the team first mentality. You got to think, how can you serve the team if you're not part of that squad of 22? I think on a day, you got to back the coaches if they want to play a certain way. Samoa, very physical game, and that's exactly what we expected, and that's exactly what we got from them. They were very physical, so the plan was to go with to fight fire with fire. So we went with a physical team against them, and you know you're going to be in for a very tough afternoon against them.
And then, as we've discussed, the quarterfinal against New Zealand, it was a comprehensive win on the part of the All Blacks, let's be honest. What would you say the atmosphere was like within the Bok camp after that defeat?
No, tough. I think after any loss, so when you play at that level, or when you're involved at that level, whether it's as a coach or a player, you want to win every test match. And I think just the atmosphere and the change room afterwards, difficult to put it into words, but I think a lot of disappointment, because and it's down to we worked so hard that 4 weeks, that whole month just prior to the World Cup starting. We really worked hard. Our fitness was probably the fittest time in most of our careers as individuals. But as I said, they were just too good for us on the day.
Ricardo, I'd like to ask you an off-the-field question. So in 1995, you'll remember that pretty much the whole country got very excited about the Rugby World Cup in South Africa. I can remember a radio interview with Joost van der Westhuizen in 1999 when he said that the players didn't really feel that they were at a World Cup during the pool stages in Scotland. And it's only when they went to France and England for the quarterfinals and semi-finals that they really felt that they were part of an important competition. How would you describe the experience that you had in Australia in 2003?
when you're together as a team, you don't feel it that much. I'm referring now to then just the atmosphere, the intensity of the just on game day. And I think as you just on game day, as you go to the stadium or approach the stadium, and then you get all right, now this is the World Cup now, because you see all just the fans, you get just a taste of the experience or the atmosphere. And I think secondly, when you stand there and you sing the national anthem, I think that to me is probably the two things that stood out for me. Just that whole atmosphere on game day, and secondly, when you sing the anthem, that's when you get a proper taste for, all right, I'm part of the World Cup now, or we in the World Cup now, so to speak.
So you played your entire Springbok career under Rudolf Straeuli. What can you tell us about him as a coach, the way that you experienced him?
Yeah, I think probably one of the things that stood out for me, and I'm still, I'm part of the Lions now, so I've got to be careful what I'm saying, but no, that's tongue in cheek. No, Rudolf, just his people skills, just the way he managed us, I think that was brilliant for me. He really understood individually what we're all about, and just how he managed us. I think that's probably some of the things that stood out for me. But I must say, I really enjoyed my rugby under him, especially the Sharks. For him, it was all about just being tight as a unit, being a family, play for each other, play for the team, put your body on the line, and and just having fun. I must say, I really enjoyed it playing under him.
Your Springbok Test career came to an end at that point after that 2003 World Cup. Did Jake White ever give you a call about maybe coming back?
No, I think not really. You look at your age and you look at the context of where we are or where we were as a team, you think obviously you assume there will be changes, whether it's management or a new coach coming in. And as I said, I was probably on the wrong side of 25. So that make it really difficult, and then you got all these youngsters coming through the system. So you see yourself as really fortunate just to get the opportunity to be part of a Springboks squad, and I think secondly to go to the World Cup, that's a cherry on the cake. And so no, I understood, and I think that's rugby for you. You got to see it in that context.
So, Ricardo, I think that millions of kids in South Africa grow up dreaming of playing for the Springboks. And I also think that they think that when they get there, they're going to have a long career, 5 years, 10 years. Maybe they'll play 100 test matches like Victor Matfield and Eben Etzebeth. But maybe they might only get to play 4 test matches, as was the case with you. What would your advice be to those youngsters?
Probably one of the biggest things for me is to stay in the moment. Enjoy what you're doing, focus on only the next game in front of you, maximize the opportunity, try and make the most of it, because you never know. At that level, they always talk about you never know when is your last game, and I think that's the way to approach it. Make sure you when you go out, express yourself. And I think it's, stay in the moment, just enjoy it and have fun.
So who was your toughest opponent?
Sure. I think every test match was really tough. But I think the All Blacks is always definitely one of your toughest opponents. And I was unlucky not to play against them. I would have loved to play against them, but I think they're definitely one of the toughest opponents, our rivals, so to speak. Yeah.
I'm not sure if you can answer the following question because of your coaching career these days, but I'm going to ask it anyway, and then you can tell me if you are able to give an answer. Is there a current player that you admire?
I think definitely Dupont. Antoine, I'm not sure whether I pronounce that correctly, but Dupont is probably I think one of the best players currently. I just watched him over the weekend against Leinster, and he was wow. What a massive performance defensively with the ball, his kicking game, his breakdown steals, and just in general, he's a game changer. You can see the difference when he's there and when he's not there. So I think he's definitely one of the players at the moment that's really one of the standout players currently in the world.
Is there a particularly funny moment that you can share with us from your time with the Springboks?
Well, I think when you're around guys like Jean de Villiers, Jacques Fourie, I think there's never a dull moment. You can put in Mornay Steyn, even coaching with him now. I think just with those guys, when you're in their presence, there's always a joke coming. So I think Jacques Fourie, Jean de Villiers, definitely those guys.
Sounds good. And we mentioned that you have a coaching career these days. What else are you up to?
Yeah, I'm obviously involved with the Lions now as a attack and backline coach. So really love what I'm doing, and just very fortunate to be part of a squad that's improving all the time. And I think I would love to stay with them for as long as I can. But I think the good thing for us is we got a lot of youngsters coming through. They're hungry, they're hardworking, and hopefully we can go onwards and upwards as a team.
All right, let's finish off by looking at that trivia question again from earlier. In 1998, the Springboks annihilated Wales 96-13. Who scored 31 points for the Boks that day? Do you know the answer, Ricardo?
I'm going to take a guess. Jannie de Beer?
That's not a bad guess, because obviously he would kick a lot of points, right? But the correct answer actually, in this case, is Percy Montgomery.
All right.
And it was also a Springbok record at the time. And I think Percy went and improved on that record and made it 35 against Namibia just before the 2007 World Cup. Nevertheless, let me say, Ricardo, that it was wonderful having you on Front Row Rugby again. An absolute pleasure. And I hope that we can have you on again in the future.
Thanks, Peter. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Last time on Front Row Rugby, Grant Esterhazen was here. You can go and watch that video. It's appearing on your screen right now. Next time, former Springbok fly half Louis Kuhn will be my guest.